Hello, everyone. Welcome to Whispered Tales. Today, we have a heartwarming story about love, sacrifice, and the wisdom of our elders. Through this tale, we'll learn how our actions define us and why respecting others' experiences can shape a better world. While listening to this story, we'll also explore some new words and how to use them in sentences. So, stay with us until the end and immerse yourself in this inspiring narrative. Once upon a time, in a remote village, there lived a poor young man named Isamu. He shared a small house on the slopes of a mountain with his elderly mother. The two survived by working on their small piece of land. Life was hard but peaceful, and they found joy in each other's company. However, their serene life was soon overshadowed by a dark decree. The emperor of the land, a cruel and unkind ruler, announced that all elderly people in his kingdom would be sentenced to death. He believed the elderly contributed nothing to society and were merely a burden. This news spread fear and sorrow across the land. No one dared to speak against the emperor's orders. Isamu was devastated. His mother was his world, his guiding light who had supported him through thick and thin. Torn between love for his mother and the emperor's brutal edict, Isamu faced an impossible choice. But his heart made the decision for him. He could not betray his mother, no matter the consequences. Her life meant more to him than his allegiance to a merciless emperor. The next morning, before the emperor's soldiers could arrive, Isamu decided to take his mother into the mountains. He remembered a long-abandoned hut he had once seen during his travels. Though it was far from ideal, it was better than letting her fall into the emperor's hands. Carrying his frail mother on his back, Isamu climbed the steep and rugged mountain path. The journey was exhausting, but Isamu was determined to protect her. Unknown to him, his mother was quietly breaking off small tree branches and dropping them along the way. She feared her son might lose his way back home. When they finally reached the hut at dusk, Isamu prepared a resting place for his mother with leaves and made her as comfortable as possible. As he bid her goodbye, tears welled in her eyes. In a trembling voice, she said, "Follow the branches I left behind to find your way back safely." Isamu turned around, and his gaze fell on his mother's hands, scratched and bruised from breaking the branches. Despite her own suffering, her love for him had never wavered. Overwhelmed, he broke down in tears. Leaving her was the hardest thing he had ever done, but it was the only chance for survival. Every day, Isamu climbed the mountain to bring his mother food and supplies, all while continuing his farm work in the village. He did this tirelessly, risking everything to care for her. One day, the emperor issued a new decree. His subjects must make a rope out of ashes, a task that seemed utterly impossible. The villagers were baffled, and despair swept through the community. Isamu shared this challenge with his mother during one of his visits. After pondering for a while, his mother said, "Make a rope out of straw first, then lay it on a flat stone and burn it slowly on a windless night. The straw will burn away, but the ashes will retain the shape of the rope." Following her instructions, Isamu created a perfect ash rope and presented it to the emperor's soldiers. The next day, news of his success reached the emperor, who summoned Isamu to his court. Astonished by the ingenious solution, the emperor asked, "How did you achieve this impossible task?" Caught in the moment, Isamu confessed the truth. He revealed that his elderly mother had provided the wisdom to complete the task, and that he had hidden her away despite the emperor's orders. Expecting punishment, Isamu bowed his head, waiting for the emperor's judgment. But instead of anger, the emperor was moved. He said, "Isamu, your love for your mother surpasses even your fear of me. I once thought the elderly were a burden, but today I see how much we can learn from their wisdom. Those who care for their parents are the true treasures of my kingdom." With newfound insight, the emperor abolished his cruel decrees and pledged to govern with compassion and respect for all. He introduced policies to honor and support the elderly, recognizing their invaluable contributions to society. Today, we learned new words and sentences through this story. Remember, learning English can be fun when you practice regularly. So keep listening, learning, and growing. Make sure to like, comment, and share how this story inspired you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story, where we'll continue learning together.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking closely at a really powerful story called The Wisdom of Elders, an Isami tale. And we're not just telling the story. We want to dig into it, Use this account of sacrifice and leadership and, well, eventual wisdom to see what it tells us about value, especially the value of experience.
Exactly. Our mission today really is to analyze how the story works. We want you to see how overlooked wisdom, specifically the kind that comes from, well, living a long time, can solve problems that seem completely impossible. This story is a fantastic guide, particularly for anyone in a position of power.
Okay, so the setup is pretty straightforward, but sets the mood perfectly. We have Isamu, a poor young man living with his elderly mother. It's a quiet life, maybe tough, but peaceful, in a remote village. But then things change drastically because of the ruler. Let's unpack this decree. It's the core conflict, right?
It is. The source paints a picture of a very harsh emperor, cruel, lacking compassion, it says. And he issues this absolutely brutal decree. All elderly people in the kingdom, they have to be put to death.
And the reasoning given in the text, that's where it gets, well, analytically interesting.
Right. The emperor's logic, if you can call it that, is dangerously simple. He believed the elderly contributed nothing to society and were merely a burden. It's this flawed idea of efficiency, focusing only on immediate output. He sees them as just overhead, and he wants to cut costs.
And the effect is immediate. Just this wave of fear, deep sorrow across the land. It paints a picture of a kingdom totally silenced by fear, unable to push back against this awful logic. But for Isamu, this isn't abstract. It hits home directly.
It really does. It creates that impossible choice. His mother is called his guiding light, his whole world. So he's caught. Does he obey this fundamentally unjust law, or does he follow his conscience, his love for his mother?
And his reaction is instant. He doesn't really debate it. The text says his heart told him what to do. He just couldn't betray her. It's more than just duty to a parent. It's like recognizing a higher moral law. So he acts immediately. Before the emperor's men can enforce the decree, he lifts his frail mother onto his back and starts climbing up this steep, rugged mountain path towards an old, abandoned hut. The description really emphasizes the struggle, the exhaustion, but his determination keeps him going.
Yeah, and this journey up the mountain, it's where we see the mother's wisdom kick in for the first time in a really practical way. What's amazing is, while she's being carried, clearly suffering herself, she's doing something, quietly breaking off small tree branches and dropping them.
That detail just hits hard, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's pure, selfless foresight. She's worried about him, thinking he'll be heartbroken, exhausted, maybe get lost trying to get back down alone.
Exactly. Her wisdom isn't some grand pronouncement. It's immediate, practical survival knowledge, focused entirely on his safety, even as her own future looks bleak. She's giving him the tools, literally a path, to ensure he survives.
So when they finally reach the hut, and she tells him, "Follow the branches I left behind to find your way back safely," that's when he sees her hands. Scratched, bruised from breaking those twigs. And that image just breaks him. It shows how sacrifice often happens quietly, right? Without any fanfare. Leaving her there, it says, was the hardest thing he ever did. But knowing how to get back gave him strength.
And Isamu begins this double life, working in the village, pretending to comply, but secretly making that exhausting climb every day with supplies. This goes on for some time, until the emperor, maybe bored or just wanting to assert more control, issues another challenge, a really bizarre one.
Yeah, this is where the story pivots, from that raw emotional survival to something more intellectual, a puzzle.
Mhm.
The emperor issues a new decree. His subjects must create a rope made entirely out of ashes.
It's a fascinating plot point
Yeah.
because it pits raw power against, well, the laws of physics. A rope needs strength, structure, ashes, or just dust. Demanding an ash rope is like demanding the impossible, so naturally everyone is just baffled, despairing even.
The ultimate impossible task. But here's the twist, right? Isamu has something no one else does. He has access to that hidden, deep experience. He takes this insane problem up the mountain to his mother.
And her solution isn't magic, it's observation, it's understanding materials, fire, patience. She draws on that deep well of knowledge. She tells him, make a rope out of straw first, then lay it carefully on a flat stone, and burn it slowly, on a night with no wind.
Ah, the windless night. Key detail.
Absolutely. The straw will burn away, she says, but the ashes will keep the shape of the rope.
It's so simple but brilliant. And for you listening, think about how that works. Burning it slowly, sheltered from wind. It leaves the carbon structure, the shape intact, even though it's just ash. The form remains.
It connects this abstract, impossible political demand with a very concrete, low-tech solution, a solution born from years of just watching how things work. And the irony is just perfect. The knowledge needed was hidden away with the very people the emperor called useless burdens.
It really is the ultimate irony, isn't it? The answer was in the place he outlawed. So Isamu follows her instructions exactly. He creates this perfect ash rope. It looks just like a rope, but it's ash. He presents it. And of course, word gets to the emperor fast. He's summoned. The emperor is just astonished. He dawns to know, how did you do this? My whole court couldn't figure it out.
And this is the climax, the moment of truth. Isamu knows what's at stake. He takes a deep breath, the text implies, and tells the emperor everything. How he disobeyed the decree, hid his mother, and how she gave him the solution. He's fully expecting to be punished, probably executed.
But the emperor's reaction is the real turning point. He's not angry. He's moved, deeply moved.
Why? Why does this specific puzzle change his entire view?
Well, the source suggests it's a moment of sudden, undeniable clarity for him. He realizes the value he was seeking, problem-solving, ingenuity, the things that make a kingdom strong, wasn't in youthful energy alone. It was in that deep reserve of knowledge he'd tried to eliminate.
It's a bit convenient, maybe, the sudden change of heart. Perhaps a little narrative neatness, yeah. But the story frames it as genuine. He saw the elderly only as a cost before. Now, confronted with this undeniable proof, the ash rope, he sees their irreplaceable functional value.
And he says it out loud. I once thought the elderly were a burden, but today I see how much we can learn from their wisdom.
He doesn't stop there. He declares that people like Isamu who showed love and care for their parents are the true treasures of his kingdom.
That's a complete 180-degree turn in policy. He doesn't just pardon Isamu.
No, he changes the whole system. He scraps the cruel decrees immediately and brings in new policies to actually honor and support the elderly, recognizing their contribution. It's a real lesson in leadership admitting fault. His ignorance was shattered by one tangible piece of wisdom.
So pulling it all together, what's the big takeaway for us?
I think the core lesson is pretty clear. True leadership, and maybe societal health in general, depends on recognizing value where it's often dismissed. Or, like in the emperor's case, actively feared or seen as a burden. The solution to the kingdom's biggest problem came from the very people he tried to discard. It shows that experience, that accumulated knowledge, isn't just history. It's a vital resource for facing the future.
And thinking about the whole story, that first act of wisdom, the mother breaking the branches, that was just as crucial, wasn't it? Driven by love, ensuring survival, just as important as solving the emperor's puzzle.
Exactly. It highlights maybe two kinds of wisdom. The immediate moral survival kind and the deep experiential puzzle-solving kind, both essential.
So the final thought for you is this.
Yeah.
Where in your own life, maybe your work, your community, even your family, might the most valuable knowledge be hiding? Is it with those who are quieter, more experienced, perhaps overlooked? The challenge is learning to see that value, especially where society might have taught you to only see a burden. Something to think about.